All right. Hey, everybody. First off, just let me know in the chat if you can hear me. As you can see, we've got Blake here waiting in the wings. Very excited to meet you all. If you're new to Brave Campus Webinar Wednesday, then welcome. My name is Callie. And if you're not new, then welcome back. Today, we have a super special guest, Blake Fly. He's actually been in a lot of the positions you all have been before. He has had over 6,000 roommates in his time living in campus residences. He's a speaker, he's a wonderful author, and a fabulous friend of Disruptt's. Just actually last week, Lexi and I were over at his place for something called a thank you party, which is very cool. And if you're lucky, Blake will explain to you how that works and what it is. And we're just so thrilled to have him on. So Blake, without further ado, I'm gonna pass it off to you.
Beautiful. All right, so give me a thumbs up that you can hear me okay. Is there a thumbs up? Thumbs up, Callie. Thumbs up, Callie. Sweet.
I'm waiting.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Lex.
Oh my God, we're getting thumbs ups even in the comments. This is beautiful. This is where we are going to begin. So when I do things like this, I like to hang out in the comment thread and in the chat box. So we'll see how this goes. Whether there's a ton of you or some of you, we'll get some dialogue going. So in today's conversation, I'm basically going to be talking about the people in your life, the people in your network, and the day-to-day work that you do on campus, and how you can use the beautiful thing known as appreciation as a way to engage these people, to acknowledge these people, and frankly, to reduce your workload and to increase the love you've got for your job. And if it sounds like I'm selling wishes to you right now, it's because I am, because this stuff is simple, straightforward, and super effective. So to get things going, for those who are engaged on the chat box, just type in right now, one name, first name only, someone who was a colleague of yours on campus. First name of one of your campus colleagues. Just type that down if you're engaged right now. Oh, here we go. Katie, Paula, Tara, maybe it's pronounced Tara. This is good. Okay, so for those of you typing right now, we're typing the first name of a colleague on campus. Now let's shift gears a little bit. Now that you've thought of a colleague on campus, now type the first name of a student on campus. Someone that you know. Maybe it's a student leader. Maybe it's a student staff member. Maybe it's just a student that you walk by on your way to and from the dining hall, on your way to and from meetings. Okay, so we got more names chiming in here. This is good. We've got colleague names. We've got student names. And now write down the first name of somebody that you supervise. This might be professionally, like they are paid and you are their boss, or maybe they're on a council or a union or an association and they report to you. So write down the name of someone on your staff team or someone that you are leading in your role on campus. Amazing. This is good. We've got names burning up on the thread. This is sweet. I love this stuff. I've had the internet for years, but I'm still amazed that it exists. Okay, so we've got a name of a colleague, of a student, of a staff member, and now final name is sort of in the category of beyond. So beyond your work, let's think of family, let's think of friendships, let's think of people in your life that have nothing to do with your professional obligations, your professional relationships. Write the first name of somebody who might be a family member, your partner, your friend, someone that you keep in touch with on the daily, or someone maybe that you lost touch with years ago. Beautiful. Lots of names. This is exciting. Okay. The reason why I'm beginning today's conversation with these names in the chat thread is because I find that when talking about appreciation, it's helpful to sort of picture individuals so that we're not just directing it into the atmosphere. We're thinking of individuals as we start to think of methods and tools so that we can apply this in our work and in our life. I'm now going to do some screen sharing. There'll be a little bit of slide action throughout this webinar, but I want to bring up one image. So we'll do a little share. Callie, if you can give me some kind of proof that the share is working, that would be amazing.
Alrighty. Yep, okay. We got your big happy face right there in the middle of the screen for all to see.
Perfect. So you can see the very high level diagram of the Happy face, good.
Are you a graphic designer in your spare time?
I no longer do that for money because I'm speaking on campuses mainly. But yes, once upon a time, I did use colons and brackets for design.
I can tell. I can tell.
Speaking of my design career, you can see it in full force in this next slide. So wherever you are on your campus, whether you are in your office, maybe you're just listening to this in the background as you're hanging around at home, maybe you're on a walk and doing the good old data plan webinar method. This is a simple little diagram that you can literally draw out on a napkin, whether it's to have conversations with people at work or just a simple little reflection, a simple little temperature taking for yourself. Which one are you? On the left, somebody with a sad face. On the right, somebody with a happy face. This is a simple little spectrum where you can literally draw it out and draw a line somewhere on that spectrum to decide where are you at? How are you feeling right now? Because the beauty of this simple tool, appreciation, when done sincerely, when done creatively, it is one of the most simple, straightforward, and profound ways to move away from having the sad times, the bad times, and move more towards the good times and the happy times. Whether that is for yourself as you give this to others, or for others as you share this little chart with them. So do this right now for yourself to get a sense of where you are at, but also just think of this as a tool that you can apply to conversations, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, because it's a great way to get a litmus test of who you are having a conversation with. We just went through this. We got some names in the chat box, so thank you for chiming in. And now let's go here. Hallmark cards. I'm going to get rid of the actual screen share for this portion because I'm going to actually do the camera work a little bit. But I want people who are tuned in live right now to think of Hallmark cards. Basically, think of any store that sells greeting cards. Hallmark is just kind of an easy example. It's a pretty huge chain. They go way back. So for those typing in right now, type one kind of card that you would get at a card store. One reason why you would buy a card. An event, an occasion, a relationship in your life. Type one reason why you would get a card. Birthday, wedding, support, anniversary. Oh, anniversary, so special. Okay, these are good. These are the common answers that I often get when I'm speaking to professionals on their campus. Now, even though those are some examples as to why you would get a card, events or relationships, what feeling would you say drives you to get a card? Like, why do you get a card? Yes, there's an event, but why? Is it because you would love to? Is it because you have to? What is one word to describe why you go and buy a card? Obligation, gratitude. These are some words that I'm seeing come up in the thread. Any other reasons as to why you get a card, that driver, that motivation? Okay, so Bill says it's an expectation. Aaron says it's out of affection. Angie's saying gratitude. Okay, this is amazing. We'll stop the conversation there. Oh, Disruptt. Nicely done there, Callie. My mom told me to. Bill says, because this feels good. On location, says Christina. Perhaps that means obligation. But if it's on location, I love the word. I'm going to check it out later. And thank you for teaching me that new term. So I asked this question about Hallmark cards and why we would buy cards, because oftentimes we do this because it is expected. Appreciation is something that comes out of obligation. It is something that comes out of expectation. And this isn't a bad thing. It's just interesting that usually what drives us to appreciate other people is expectation, obligation, or the calendar. It's something that comes up. It comes up on our phone, on the calendar. It's a Facebook notification saying, oh, hey, it's someone's anniversary. Do something. Hey, it's someone's birthday. Do something. Hey, it's someone's wedding. Do something. So we almost, in a reactive way, do this thing that is kind of expected of us. But now what if we were to flip this around? Because instead of expected, obligatory, is that a word? I think so. obligation-based appreciation that is based on the calendar or a cause. Calendar meaning it's your birthday, get them the card. Cause meaning maybe it's something that happens once a year. Maybe it's something that happens every so often at work, every so often on campus. What if we were to shift it from that and move it into unexpected appreciation? So instead of expected obligation, let's refer to unexpected appreciation. So if someone can type those words in, I feel like those were good sound bites. So can someone type in the chat box, expected obligation versus unexpected appreciation? Expected obligation versus unexpected appreciation. When we talk about expected obligations as a way to appreciate others, it's kind of forced. When we think about unexpected appreciation, that's where we get creative. That's where there are no limits. And that's where we can really surprise and delight people, such as that staff member who you wrote about at the start of the webinar, such as that person who is a family or friend or your partner who you wrote about at the start of this webinar, or perhaps even someone who's a student on campus who you just walk by once a week and you think, that student's amazing. And I don't know if I've acknowledged that student for why I think that about them. So now we're going to go back to the slides for a moment. We'll do a little screen share. Sharing the screen. Callie, if you can give me the A-OK that it's working.
You are looking good. Very, very intricate slide work.
Right, some more highly designed slides from myself here. So expected versus unexpected really puts you as a professional on campus, you as an advisor on your campus, in a role to be empowered and excited and motivated to think of how can I appreciate people. If there was no such thing as birthdays, if there was no such thing as get well soon, if there was no such thing as, oh, it's Earth Day, make sure you acknowledge somebody because it's Earth Day. If we were to eliminate all of those, how do we get into this unexpected appreciation mindset? To go in this direction, I want to bring up a simple little concept that you're probably well versed in as someone who hangs out and spends time on campus. Campus maps. Now, when I used to work as a residence manager at a university, the campus map was something that I never really thought of because I worked on that campus. I was there every day. I figured it out my first year, and then I was good. But if you look at a campus map, when you go to a conference, when you go and deliver a presentation, or think of me, when I'm hired to speak at orientation weeks every year, I'm literally pulling up in a car with all the other people moving in, and I'm equally confused because I've never been to the campus a lot of the time. I'm hired to give a keynote to all these new students, and they're completely lost and confused. I'm the speaker guy, and I'm also completely lost and confused physically. I'm out of an environment that I'm comfortable with. I'm comfortable in front of crowds on campuses, but I might not be able to find the venue unless I have someone to help me. So if you picture a campus map, they're super confusing. They're hard to navigate if you're new to campus. But what if we were to completely flip the script on what a campus map even is? Think of this definition, the word artery. Let's not think about arteries in terms of the body, but let's think of this sort of sub-definition that I found from the Google. An artery is an important route in a system of roads, rivers, or railroad lines. So if we think about the major arteries on your campus, then when you look at the campus map, it's not just, hey, what building has a great parking lot so that I'm closest to the room that I have to get the projector set up in. Rather, we're looking at the campus map as where does traffic flow? Where do people go? Where do people cluster and gather and sit on benches? Where do people never find themselves walking? Because nobody goes to that area since all the classes, all the eating areas, all the social hangouts are on this side of campus. So picture a campus map not as a map of your campus, but rather this, appreciation arteries. Because if you were to look at your campus as a series of arteries where people and where events and experiences are existing, you then have the opportunity to intersect with these parts of your campus and do something unexpectedly to make those individuals or those groups feel appreciated, feel recognized, feel acknowledged. So when I'm delivering keynotes, I tell some of these stories, but I'll just briefly coast through these so that you get a sense of what do I mean by this? Because right now, where I live is the city of Toronto in Canada. I'm right now like 3 minutes from the CN Tower. I'm looking at Porter Airlines so I can see planes coming and going. So that's where I'm based. So if I were to look at the city of Toronto, the map of it, I think, well, what are the major arteries where we can appreciate people who are in this community, Toronto? Because right now that is my campus, not the University of Toronto, but that's where I live. That is my home. That is my neighborhood. So how can I look at the city and engage people for appreciation? I'll show you some examples, and you can apply this to your campus. A few of my pals and I, we play music. We've been in a band since we met in residence back in the day. We no longer live in residence. And if we walk around our apartment buildings and our condos and our neighborhoods with guitars and drums, it might not be acceptable per se, but what we do is we get onto the subways in the city of Toronto and we play live music, not for money, just to change the atmosphere. Now, I don't know the last time that you were on public transit, whether it was a subway, a bus, a train, whatever, but especially in big cities, if you go on subways, people aren't looking too happy. Back to the diagram of which one are you? Most people riding transit are the not so happy looking people. I'm sure they're great, but they look upset. So when we play music in the train, it is terrifying because people are looking at us like, who do you think you are? And we're just there strumming some music. And what we do is we explain ourselves. We step into the subway car, the doors close behind us, and we announce, hey everybody, you are now part of a train reaction. We don't play for money, we just play for smiles. And then when we say that line, some people start to smile. So we acknowledge those key individuals who are smiling. We're like, yes, we play for smiles, like that one and that one. And then the more we acknowledge those who are smiling, the more other people start to smile. And it's amazing because this is where so many people are moving through the city. Think of your campus. Where are so many people moving through campus? Where are the buses going? Where are most people riding their bikes? Where are most people walking? And how can you do something creatively, unexpected that catches them off guard and makes their day better? Look at this. We checked on Twitter after we did a train reaction a while back, and it basically showed people saying, the TTC needs to hire these guys. Thanks for the great ride tonight on the Young line. And they tagged the local news channel. And that's not good because what we were doing was not exactly allowed because there are sound bylaws and playing live music maybe is not the best idea. So we were nervous we were going to get in trouble. And then another person posts, train reaction, the TTC needs to get these guys on the payroll. And they posted the video of us playing because they were filming us. This is also not good. Then the last one, my favorite, best wrong train I ever got on. Train reaction, thanks for letting me jam with you guys. So I'm not suggesting that you put a subway on your campus or add in a monorail in order to make this thing possible. No, I'm all about low fee or free methods to engage and to acknowledge the people in your campus community through appreciation and recognition. I'm glad there's a recording of this webinar because I feel like what I just said was quite concise and relevant. So thank you, Callie. I'm going to listen back to this later and write down what I just said. But rather, yeah, but rather it's not putting a subway into your campus. It's just emulating this model. It's copying this concept. So here's some other ways that we've built this in the city of Toronto, where my friends and I live. Because frankly, we just wish we still lived on campus. So we do the stuff we used to do, but now in a big city where most people are looking at their phones, not expecting to smile. Oh, by the way, this was really cool because we got media attention and we were on the news just for playing free music on trains. And that was not the plan, that was not expected, but it's cool when appreciation that is unexpected and sincere starts to ripple out and reach more people. So here's another one. My good friend Elan and I, we just went on a run one day and we realized we hate running. So the next time we went, we made t-shirts that said free high fives and we went running and we high-fived people. And we had a blast. It was so much fun to engage people who then were smiling and they seemed like they were in a better mood. They would say hello, they would say thank you. And so each time we went on a run, we would give high fives to make it more fun. And each time we went, we invited more people. So it started to grow a little bit. It started to grow a lot. And now we basically do this thing every season, probably 4 or 5 times around the city of Toronto. Some campuses in the States and in Canada have adopted this just as a fun little team builder on their campus. And all it is people running through the city offering free high fives as a way to get people to look up from their feet and up from their phones, engage with other human beings, and feel noticed, feel recognized in an unexpected, unplanned way. I mean, sure, we plan the run, but the people all around the city don't expect it.
Can I just say that's an awesome idea for orientation leaders too?
Yeah, super straightforward. I mean, if you want like the big version, let me know. But if you want the simple version, just go running and high-fiving. We're fun stuff. But High Five Run, it grew because it was unexpected, because it was sincere, and because it was simply a vehicle for appreciation. Not necessarily on campus, but around our city, which is like a campus. We worked with Movember. We were hired to work with some other people, such as Lululemon, MEC, and LinkedIn. And that downright made Elan and I just laugh, because it started off as a way to make running more fun and to make people feel recognized. So I'm going to stop the share right now. Callie, am I back on the video screen here?
Yeah, you're good to go.
These are simple ideas that I do in my world, but they all came from doing them on campus when I was a student there, when I worked as a professional there, because there's so much energy that is in place on college campuses, in the university world. And if we can harness that energy, so much can happen. But how can we harness it not in these big over-the-top production event activity ways? How can we boil this down so simply into just the day-to-day? And how can we apply it to the people that you commented about at the start of this webinar? Your colleagues, your staff members, your friends, students around campus? How can we get it so simple, so straightforward? So I'm going to share my screen again and explain how to get this a bit more close to home instead of in the city of Toronto. Callie, we good? We sharing?
You are not sharing.
Oh, not sharing. Ooh, curveball on the webinar. I'll try again, and then how about now? Am I sharing?
No, you're not.
It's giving me some tech glitch thing about timeouts and video streams and things, so that's okay. So I'm not sharing right now, correct?
No, it's just you and me up here.
Perfect. That's all we need, and everybody hanging out in the chat thread. So enough with the attempts to share. What I was going to show was essentially this thing that, as Callie referred to at the start of this webinar, what I call a thank you party. So instead of big over-the-top things all around campus that take people and maybe a budget and like a lot of hype and promotion, a thank you party, as Callie is showing right now, is literally getting people together and having them answer the question, who do you appreciate and why? Who do you appreciate and why? So at this time, in the chat box, for any one of those people that you said you appreciate, now just write a quick reason why. You don't need the name, but if you wrote a friend, now write one line as to why you appreciate them. And even though we might not know who they are, hanging out here doing this Brave Campus style, that's not the point. The point is that you articulate it publicly, and then others just get to experience some words around appreciation. That's beautiful. Believes in me more than I believe in myself. Even if no other comments are shared, that does the job. Oh, we actually are having more comments. This is cool. Very caring and always willing to listen. Oh, a little internal love. Team Disruptt, from Callie to Lexi, she's constantly saving her butt when she's in a tight spot and supports her in every single day. Positivity cheerleader. Asks me how I'm doing. So we could sit here and do this all day long. I realize you have a job, you might not do that. But what's cool is that my job is to do that. That's literally all I do. When I give speeches, when I do events, when I'm hanging out here, it's just thinking of how can we get more people to answer the question, who do I appreciate and why? And instead of just thinking it silently to ourselves, how can we use technology? How can we use old school methods to actually deliver the appreciation? Whether it's a written version, whether it's some social experience like a high five run or a train reaction, or just sitting on a bench on campus and asking people what the best part of their week has been. This is what I love doing, and it's such a joy to see others be able to integrate it into their work and into their lives on campus and beyond. So if you want a thank you party, it's pretty straightforward. You literally get people together, get some Post-it notes, get some thank you cards, and begin that dialogue. That's something that I do everywhere I travel. That's something that now Callie and Alexi have experienced just hanging out at my apartment with about 10, 20 other people. But it's amazing when we can give people a place and a space to actually share their appreciation in a way that is sincere and authentic. Because it's not about being warm and fuzzy and holding hands and shedding tears, because for some that's just terrifying. But if it's just, hey, who's in your life? Why do you appreciate them? That is such a doorway. That is such a window into the experience of a student, into the experience of a colleague, and into the experience of someone who maybe you've known for years, but you didn't realize one of their most important relationships beyond you, because, I mean, you're awesome. So I'm going to try sharing the screen once more. I don't need this next part, but if the screen share works, I'm going to show you one more thing. Let's see this. Let's see this. Ba, ba, ba. Need some elevator music. Okay, share. And then Callie, you tell me if it's working or not. Is it sharing?
No, I just see your beautiful face, Blake.
Okay, doesn't matter. It says this, for the future of me knowing technology, it says we're unable to publish your video stream in a reasonable amount of time. Please refresh and try again. So I guess it's just like not refreshing enough where I am in the world, but it's okay. So now back to the chat box, back to the thread that you have started. What I would love to know is, with all of these things, what is your most dominant form of communication in your job? Is it email? Is it text? Is it phone? Is it just walking around campus and like having face-to-face conversations around the office? What is your most dominant form of communication in your work on campus? Okay, mostly email, then face-to-face. Sweet. Well, as a true professional, you got a backup visual. So here's what's going on. I'm about to write 2 words that you can apply to your texts, to your emails, even to voicemails, to phone conversations. And these 2 words are essentially a doorway or a springboard into a conversation rooted in appreciation. You can use this for delivering feedback. You can use this at meetings. You can even use this with people in your life. Husband, wife, partner, son, daughter, uncle, anyone. And here come the words. It's like an art attack. I'll do the reveal once I'm done. Okay. Callie, are you ready for the reveal?
Ooh, do you need a drum roll?
Sure. Drum roll. Okay.
It's on the glass table, so it's not that great.
A lot of hype, a lot of hype. Okay. Here we go. Ta-da. Okay.
Am I the only one thinking of an Eminem song right now?
Yeah, I think it's Without Me. So
you're right.
You are me. Okay. So these words, not rocket science, everybody. But sometimes when I work with people and I work with teams, they're like, yeah, okay, Blake, great idea. Appreciation among students, appreciation among professionals. But like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to type. This is basically a template. If you were to begin a thank you card, a thank you email, a thank you voicemail, a thank you text message with the words "without you," you would then are set up to let that person know the impact that they've had on your day, on your week, on your life. Let's practice right now. Okay, Callie. I could send a message to Callie. Be like, Callie, Thanks. You're great. Cool webinar. Bye. Done. And that'd be nice. It'd be sincere.
I'd appreciate it.
Though, especially as a professional on campus, if you're working on teams, if you're building teams, if you're supervising people, this is such an awesome way to also get specific and deliver feedback if you want, just by acknowledging what you see in a person. So let's take it up a notch now. So for example, Callie, without you, these webinar experiences would not exist. I would not get to connect with these awesome people on their campus through the use of technology, and they would not be learning one or more simple ways to appreciate people in their life, which in turn will make their relationships go from great to greater. So frankly, Callie, without you, none of the above would have even been possible.
Oh, I'm starting to tear up.
And this can be applied to anyone. And that wasn't like rehearsed, that wasn't fake. Like seriously, Callie, thank you. And to Lexi and the whole Disruptt team for putting this together. It's work on your end, and it's knowledge and insight for everybody else. So for those of you who are chatting on the side here in the thread, if you were to take this without you concept to your teams and apply it to the way in which you communicate the most, imagine how specific you can be speaking to people so that they don't wonder, hey, am I doing well in this job? Hey, are we still connected as friends and as colleagues? Hey, am I on track as a student? When we use the specific language, can't speak. When we use the specific language starting without you, it gives people a pulse on how they're doing. Think back to that diagram of which one are you, sad to happy. It gives them a sense of where they are on that spectrum. And perhaps a simple little without you statement could move them from sort of the not feeling so hot to feeling a whole lot better. Now let's go back to what you were saying in the chat thread. You use email, you use text, you use face-to-face communication. So now, much like the Hallmark example, how can we spin that? How can we flip that around? Because email is so expected. It's so boring. It's so mundane. It's so dusty. People avoid their email inbox. Think about text. Even text sometimes, it's getting tougher to keep up with because we send them so fast, we might lose track of them. And so every form of communication that exists right now is becoming kind of like a nuisance unless we can sort of hit pause and create some time for people to just really focus, much like this. If you're listening to this live right now, you decided to be here and to tune in. If you're listening to this recording at a later date, you decided to download it and tune in. You stopped and said, okay, I'm in. That's amazing. So how can you stop time and then send messages? Now I realize that might sound a little bit ridiculous. How can you stop time and then send a message? But if people are saying, I have no time, which is why they don't get their messages, this is a really sweet way to engage with people in your work and in your life. So here are some examples as to how you can use the standard email, text, phone, all that, but spin it around so you can stop time and acknowledge people and increase the odds that they're going to read your message. So let's start with phone. Type the word phone if you still actually use the phone, because I realize even though we've got cell phones, we don't necessarily put them to our ear anymore. So type the word phone if you use phones. Perfect. So I remember in my office when I was a residence manager, the students in that building, there were 1,252 students. So as a manager of that building, it was a little daunting, but super exciting. And my colleague and I together, we managed a team of 42 student leaders. And so once a month, we would have one-to-ones with each student leader. That was in person, face-to-face. What I thought of doing as a way to kind of just engage with these people in between the one-to-ones is I would send a voicemail silently. There was a setting on the phone so you could just like call their number, leave a voicemail, and then hang up the phone and it would just be sent. You didn't have to actually have the phone ring. And all I would do was essentially say, hey, Aaron, it's Blake. I just want to say thanks for tuning into that webinar the other day. It took like an hour of your day, and I know you're really busy, so I just appreciate that you made the time for some professional development because I know that's going to benefit you, your colleagues, and the students on your campus. I'd hang up. And then Aaron would think, cool, yeah. I didn't ask Aaron to do anything. I didn't insist that Aaron needs to reply. But in the chat box, what do you think? Do you think that people replied to those silent voicemails? No or yes? Type no or yes. Do you think they replied to my silent voicemails? No or yes? Oh, so much suspense. Ooh, getting a no. Getting shut down by Team Disruptt. And I expected no also. So to Disruptt, to Bill, to anyone who's typing no, I'm with you. We share the same vote. What blew me away was that no one responded. No one responded to the call. But that's not what blew me away. What blew me away was the fact that everyone responded to the call, not using the phone. So what do I mean by that? I would leave these silent voicemails once a month to all the staff members on my team who I was supervising. I would specifically acknowledge something that I appreciated about them in the last few weeks. Make them realize that I'm noticing what they're up to and I'm noticing what they're doing in their work. And I would have them walk by my office, going to and from class. They would stop and be like, Blake, thanks for that voicemail, man. Oh, cool. I didn't tell them to stop by my office, but they would do that and they would engage and we would start a little conversation from that moment. I would get emails. Blake, got your voicemail on the run to class. Thanks, dude. I didn't ask them to email me. And my favorite was at the end of the year, at performance appraisal time for me as a manager, all through the performance appraisals every year, the comments were very similar. Areas to improve. Blake needs to check his email faster. Guilty. So guilty of that. Other areas that make Blake stand out as a leader. And the list was so consistent. Sending me silent voicemails, sending me those messages unexpectedly, sending me silent voicemails. And I literally just did it because it took me 10 minutes to send it out to 20 people individually. And so I'm sharing this with you because how can you use the communication methods you already use, but then just like layer some appreciation on there. So that's messages on the phone. Let's talk about email. People are inundated on email. When I worked on campus before I had a speaking career, buzzing around and touring, the emails would fly. The committee emails would be buzzing. People that were always coming and going to meetings, it would just be like agenda minutes and follow-ups and everything. And it just became noisy. And it became this nuisance. We had to check, obviously, it's our job, but it wasn't this like, can't wait to check out the inbox kind of feeling. So I would start sending emails to colleagues with titles like, please open, with titles like important, with titles like, did you see this? And all I would say inside the email to my colleagues, to other residence managers, to directors on campus, I sent one of these to the president of the university at one point. It was hilarious. Inside it would read things like, hey, Bill, you were the chair of the meeting 3 days ago. I'm just going through those notes again. And Bill, the way that you actually like led that meeting was amazing. So in case no one's told you yet, kudos to you for the way you carried that conversation. And then Bill all of a sudden is thinking, I thought Blake titled this email as important. And I did because to me it's important that I let Bill know that. But we often don't put appreciation high on the list of importance because you have situations to attend to. You have parents that are on your back and need answers. You have students that need attending to. You have meetings that need to be prepared for, and you have some programs and some initiatives that need to be lifted off the ground before those students come pouring in for orientation week, which is like pretty much coming now. So if we put appreciation higher on the list of importance, it's amazing because not only do people feel like appreciation is more important, but those people feel important because they've been appreciated. So that's a little bit about the phone. That's a little bit about email. And now let's talk about the fact that it's 2017, and then we're going to go into a Q&A. Because now there's some tools and technology out there which allow for you to get really engaging. This is 99% of the tools, a phone. Because now, if you were to send a voicemail, like old school, leave your message after the beep, that works. But now we can send audios in text. So if I send an audio to someone who's on this thread right now, let's say I'm gonna message Lexi, if I do a little audio clip over text, that inherently has changed up the flow of text messages that she's receiving. Because typically you see words and words and words and words and words, but now when you see, oh, there's a sound clip, it's different, it's unexpected. It's like, you know, the marshmallow in the Lucky Charms. People are like, ooh, this is the part that is awesome. I realize, you know, lots of sugar, health and wellness, I get it. Might not be the best recommendation, but how can you do this in your communication? So I find that sending videos, just a little like, hey, Bill, hey, Aaron, hey, Lexi, what's up? It's Blake. Thanks for being on the webinar. I just wanted to say that good luck today because it is currently Wednesday, and that means in 2 days it's Friday, and that means you deserve yourself a little bit of a weekend. Air high five. Boom. Save it. Send it. It's just a way to disrupt people's day. Plug, disrupt. But for real, it's a simple way to just deviate from the norms. It's a way to get people's attention. It's a way to increase the likelihood that people will be excited for your communication rather than exhausted by your communication. Now, before the Q&A, I want to make sure that something is handed over your way so that you can take these little insights and actually apply them. Because we could talk on this for hours and I burned through a lot of that information. So I've got a few things that I will connect you to through Cali mainly, and these can allow you to begin building it on your campus. So thing number one, there's this resource that I made. It's called 11 Ways to Boost Campus Culture. It's fun, it's easy, and it's like a low budget thing. So I made this super colorful book. I actually paid a designer for this one, so it looks legit.
Wow. So no columns and brackets? Is that what you're telling me?
None of that. And so 11 ways to boost campus culture. There's 11 programs where you can do them all either for free or you can put a ton of money into it and just make it over the top. So High Five Run is an example. There's something like that in there. Thank you phone calls is an example. There's some thank you party stuff in there. So that's one resource. Second resource is a PDF of the Campus Life Guide. So that's the book I wrote, but I'll just send you the actual like ebook version. You can use that as a resource for training your student leaders or having conversations or book clubs or things like that. And the third thing is I do a few times a month, just an audio series. It's called Campus Advisor Success Series. And I just talk about anything under the sun that applies to campus advisors, professionals working on campuses with students. So the book, the resource guide, and the audio series, all that info, there's two ways to get it. Way number one, here's my email. That way you can ask me questions and stuff too. Here it comes, blake@blakefly.com. That's my email, blake@blakefly.com. You can just email me for questions, or you can email me and say, send me the free stuff. So email, I'll just throw it back at you. I realize I said I'm slow at email, but I'll keep an eye out because I get excited to send free things.
Oh, you're the only guest we've had that gives presents, I gotta say.
Really?
You've raised the bar. You've raised the bar.
I can't talk about appreciation and then ditch people. So, and then the second option is you can reach out to anyone at the Disruptt team, mainly Callie, and then her and I are connected all the time. So if you don't get it through me, or if you're wondering, how did I get that free stuff? Callie can hook you up because we're a text message apart, her and I.
We're BFFs.
So at this time, I'm in no rush, but I know we've got a few minutes left and I can stick around as long as this stays live. But any questions, let's do this. Chime in. If no one has any, that's fine. I'll just have a staring contest with the camera. But if some people have questions, let's do it. And I'm happy to answer in any way that I can. And I'm excited to see you on your campus if you're one of the people who's hired me to come and kick it for the orientation season, which starts like in 10 minutes for some campuses.
While we wait for questions to roll in, I also want to draw everyone's attention to a super cool event. Blake hosts it, and it's called New Year's Evolutions. I find New Year's is super depressing in the sense that you're making all these promises. You're like, okay, I'm going to do better. I'm going to rock the world. I'm not going to have all these bad habits. And then you end up kind of hating yourself for everything you didn't accomplish, and you're reminded that every year. So, Blake, why don't you explain why this beats that?
New Year's evolutions is essentially an evening for people to set up their year, not by looking ahead and focusing on what they hope to get, but setting up their year by looking back over the last 12 months and appreciating all the things that they've already got. So rather than going into the year like, oh, I hope I get a better year, it's going into the year thinking, oh my gosh, I totally underestimated what has happened in the last 12 months. And I haven't appreciated it until now. And that is a way better jumping point to set up your year personally and professionally. So there will be 250 people coming this year. The tickets there's a variety of prices. It's in Toronto, Ontario. And yeah, it's happening annually for the next 55 years. This is my second of 55. So check out this year or sometime before 2073, I believe, is year 55.
Quick math.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific reason for 55 years, or it's just life?
Simply because I want people to know that I'm serious about this topic, and I frankly wanted to build this for myself. I wanted myself to be accountable to once a year, really diving deep into why the year was amazing, to celebrate not only the highs, but also acknowledge the lows. So if no other reason, I'll be there once a year for 55 years, even if no one buys tickets.
All right, perfect. So, here we got a question from Aaron. Have you done the thank you parties on campuses? What are some best practices, so to speak, that you found when facilitating them? I would like to partially answer this question and say that the key is to have his fiance Emily there making dessert, because that's just to die for.
Yep. Emily, my fiance, is the love of my life. I can talk to her, Aaron, in case she can fly to your campus and bring cake. It was delicious. But yes, for all campus initiatives, I mean, food is just, it's a must. Like, you put out free snacks, game on. But in addition to that, a few best practices are as follows. I find that cozy is best. A thank you party is really great with like 10 to 20 people. If it's more than that, it'll work, but it'll take on a bit more of a presentation vibe instead of an intimate gathering reflection evening, if you will. So I have done thank you parties on campuses. Usually when people hire me to do keynotes, that's something that they also hire me for, is like, I stick around for the evening and we'll do a thank you party at like a residence lounge or in a dining hall, or sometimes it's even outside in like one of the main hubs of campus. At Purdue University one time, I hung out under the clock tower, and that was awesome because like that's just a beautiful campus. But aside from keeping it cozy, other best practices, Aaron, and to anyone else listening, have some kind of piece of paper and some kind of writing utensil. Although that sounds super simple, sometimes people default to phones, because you could just get people to type their appreciation and send it to people. But there's something that really changes when people get the written word out. Because then when you have that, you can write it and take a photo of the written word and send it. Because then when you send it and use technology, it's got a bit more sincerity, simply because, whoa, someone spent time to like write me a thank you. So something to write with, something to write on, keep it cozy, and then at the end, apply technology. So don't just sit there, do something. Meaning, don't just sit there with your cards, actually send them out. Sometimes I actually forget to ask people to do this, because when we're sharing our cards, people get really into it, and sometimes people cry, and sometimes it's like really moving. But send it out before the party ends, because then what's cool is that people can start seeing the replies coming in, which is actually a great reminder to me, for everyone still tuning in live. For the people at the start of the webinar who you acknowledged, saying this is someone I appreciate, my challenge to you before this ends is to send them a text or an email or a little one-liner of some sort and thank that person for something that they've done for you. Because then this is starting to happen. It's not just an idea, it's a practice.
Great. Blake, just for people who might not really understand the thank you party, do you want to break down the format that you used, like the last time I was there, how we kind of did it?
Absolutely. So here was the format at the recent thank you party, and it's pretty straightforward. We had about 10, 20 people gather in my apartment, so small, cozy space. And at the start, it was just a little mingle, have some snacks, people chat. If you want, you can build in some planned conversations, like icebreakers. And after about half an hour of that, started at 7:30, so by 8 p.m. it became the program, the formal part, and I handed out 3 thank you cards and a pen to everyone, and it basically began by writing a thank you card to someone that you appreciate, and then it was share it with people near you, and then share it to the group. Then it was write a second thank you card, share it with people near you, share it with the group, and then the finale was writing a thank you card to yourself, which really mixes people up because oftentimes we forget to appreciate ourselves. And then share it with someone near you, and feel free to share it with the group. So nothing is mandatory in terms of like you must share it with the group, but it's when you get people to read it out loud, that's when the Oprah moments take place. So write a card, share it with a buddy, share it with the group, and repeat. That is the basic version. And then when I'm in place, like I'll step it up a few levels just because that's what I do, but that's the beta version.
For any of you who were here for the first webinar that Jordan did, Blake is the guy we were talking about when Jordan read his thank you card that he wrote to himself. It starts something off like, Jordan, you piece of shit. So that should ring some bells if any of you guys were there for that. But it's surprisingly difficult to write a thank you card to yourself.
Yeah,
so
it's a doozy.
I challenge you all to do that even just on your own at the end of today. You'll be surprised. Oh, there we go.
And now, if there's no other typed questions, like I said, there's Jordan and Sandy. Oh my gosh, celebrity sighting. Cameo. If you listen to this recording, feel free to email me questions or give me a call or something. Callie's got my contact info. I love being as accessible as humanly possible. And yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Blake, for coming and doing this with us and for inviting me to my very first thank you party last week. It was the highlight of my year. I'll talk about it at New Year's Evolutions for sure.
Yeah. Would love to see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Blake said, for anyone who does have questions, of course, the Brave Campus Facebook group is always open to you. That little green button right there that says join our Facebook group, Blake is in it. So if you post and ask, he can jump on in and answer. And just everyone, please give a big thank you to Blake. It was so great to have you. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for hanging out on the internet, everybody. This was super cool. And to anyone tuning in, Disruptt is doing some ridiculously amazing things. And I've seen a lot of speakers, a lot of speaker bureaus. What they're doing is different from a lot of people. So you're welcome for knowing that they exist. And I don't work with them directly, so this is like a sincere, straight up plug of awesomeness.
Yeah, we don't promote Blake. He's honestly just a super great friend of ours who has taught us a lot about appreciation. And I know it sounds like a super simple concept, but when you take these strategies and you implement them in your jobs and in your personal lives, you'll really be amazed at the things that can come forward. And a lot of that I've learned from Blake, and I hope you guys did a little bit today too. So without further ado, I think we're gonna sign off. Thanks so much, everybody.
See you later.